Hello, today we have one story. Title: Am I wrong for refusing to pay for the items my toddler damaged? I, 36F, have a 2.5-year-old son. He is energetic and curious, just as any child should be. Meltdowns are age-appropriate, but he usually doesn't have them unless he misses sleep, gets sick, or something similar. I make sure to let him release his energy in playgrounds every day so he won't climb on furniture. Our parenting style is similar to the British show Super Nanny. For example, if you don't eat your vegetables, you won't get any dessert, no matter how much you cry. Or, 7:30 p.m. is bedtime after our nighttime routine. Unless there is an extreme case, 99% of the time he will be in his bed, trying not to be in bed to have more fun. We do a little dance where he comes back to me and I put him in his bed again and again. Rules are rules. My MIL, 58F, lives far away and invited us to her home so she could see her grandson face to face instead of through daily FaceTimes. Her home is filled with knickknacks. It's not ideal for a toddler, but with our parenting style, we thought it would be manageable with my 24/7 supervision. What we didn't anticipate was my MIL's character. She is a proud people pleaser. She thinks she's like Mother Teresa, but my husband had to act extra aggressive to protect her from being used by people. She started giving my son chocolate cake behind my back because he refused to eat his proper meal, and I told her, he will eat when he's hungry. She couldn't imagine a toddler being left hungry by his mother. Since he refused the meal, she thought he had to eat something. Whenever my son had meltdowns over things I wouldn't let him do, she would save him from his despot mom, and do the thing with him because she couldn't bear to see him cry like it was the end of the world. Thanks to her actions over the week, my son now thinks my MIL overrides my rules. If he cries enough, he can get what he wants. So now, he doesn't stop crying for a long time, since eventually his angel grandma will save him. Today, I woke up with the flu, and my MIL volunteered to babysit him. After a few hours, she came to my room asking me to pay for her kitchen cabinets. Apparently, he was banging a ladle on the cabinet doors and made a lot of dents in the paint. I asked, "Where were you when it happened?" She was right there and wouldn't leave him alone, of course. "Why didn't you take the ladle from his hands?" Well, he didn't let her. After a meaningless back and forth with similar questions and already having a headache from my sinuses, I went back to sleep, saying, "No, I won't pay, and it seems like you need to discipline your grandson and be the bad guy for the first time." Now she is crying in her room. So, AITA? Update. When I finally felt better and no longer had a headache, I sat down with my MIL to discuss how her actions affect my son and his relationship with me and his environment. I told her that undermining my authority is never a good idea. Even though I might be stricter than she prefers, this is how I choose to raise my son. I've been with him 24/7 since the day he was born, and I observe that he is happier and learns better with a more structured life. She tried to argue that she has been a mom for 36 years, while I have only been a mom for 2.5 years. I told her that my son is not the same person as her son, so they may have different needs. Plus, times are different now. We grew up playing on the streets with our big cousins taking care of us, with barely any cars passing by. Every neighbor knew us, and there was a "it takes a village" mentality. My son doesn't have that "let him free, they'll grow themselves" kind of luxury. In her head, she is the best and nicest person around, so she continued to argue that whatever she did was for the good of her grandson. It took threatening to let my husband know about this and let him decide what to do for her to agree to act according to my wishes. There were a lot of comments in my previous post about what my husband does in the meantime. He travels for work and spent the first day with us before hopping cities for a week, auditing the franchising locations he works for. When the week ended, he came to take us back to our hometown, which was yesterday. I try not to share every small disagreement with my husband, as he is always quick to action instead of thinking things through. While we share the same principles and agree on almost everything, I think his execution needs more grace. That's why my MIL was afraid of his reaction to this situation. She knows he might decide not to let her see her grandson at all. In the end, she did follow my instructions but still tried to make me the bad guy by saying, "Your mom told us not to do that," instead of explaining it was wrong. It took her half a day to revert to her usual self. Some of you expected broken knickknacks when I mentioned them, and it happened. Her fridge door is full of magnets she collected while traveling in her younger days. I told my son not to touch them, and he did avoid them. Until she overrode my decision, saying, "Being curious is good for kids. Let's look at them together, and you can touch the plastic ones." My son, mesmerized by them, made it his mission to explore every single one. He became obsessed with them and found himself in front of the fridge every chance he got. He doesn't know the concept of plastic or not, and of course, eventually dropped and broke one of the non-plastic ones. I am not paying for that either. Karma, I guess. I'm just glad he didn't break the heirloom crystal glassware showcased in a cabinet. That would have broken my heart as a wannabe history geek.